Sorry, I accidentally stopped my recording. But anyway, we were at the part where we talk about the projects, and I will provide you a kit of project materials and even some basic tools. Some tools you'll have to provide for yourself, like if you want to drill holes or something like that, you'll have to provide for yourself. Some scissors or whatever else. But the kit includes parts that are made of plastic, parts that are made of wood, parts that are made of metal, lots of different parts that will allow you to build many different things and do many different projects. You're welcome to add to that kit as long as you ask me first. I don't want you to add in things that are pre-built, for example. But if you need a small piece of wood or some other thing just to make a connector, please just check with me and we'll check that by email. Send me a little picture of it on your cell phone or something, and we'll approve that. Some of the projects will be kind of open-ended, where you'll be able to choose how you want to do things and how you want to go about them. Some of them will have a little more guidance to them. So we will do a lot of projects. The things that we'll be doing in this class for credit include quizzes and homework. Quizzes we'll give in class, kind of like I just did for you. I gave you some questions to answer in an email, and that's kind of how it will go. Of course, if you're here on campus in North Platte, you can just write them on a piece of paper and send them to me. If you're not in North Platte, you can write them on a piece of paper and mail them to me if you want. It's kind of cumbersome, or you can write them down and take a picture and email it to me or whatever. Or you can just write them in an email and send them to me, and that works too. When you're sending emails to me, please tell me what class you're in. Just put that in the title of the email, ENGR1000 quiz or something like that, just so I don't have to figure out which class you're in. I teach several engineering courses, science courses, and math courses in every semester. And I'm teaching a lot of courses this semester, so I need to keep things kind of organized. That makes it a lot easier for me. Project reports, however, every time we do a project, you will have a report. And it's not a report that you necessarily will do at the end of the project. It's probably one that you will fill out during the project, the entire project. So it's more like a logbook of things that you're doing, things you've done, data that you've taken, designs that you've made, pictures of the project, and so on and so forth. Some things will be done after the project, as you analyze your project, as you test your project, and everything else. But project reports will be a part of your grade, and a big part of it, actually. Exams, we will have a couple of exams. And we will also have presentations that will be part of the projects, and presentations will count as exams. So we will have those in there, and then professionalism. There's a little part of your grade that's professionalism, and the reason that I put it in there is because it's very important that engineers behave professionally. All engineers work in professional environments, and it's a good thing to start with at an early age. So please treat your classmates with professionalism and treat me with professionalism. I'll try to do the same. Nobody's perfect. We will always we like to goof around and kid around, and that's fine. There's nothing unprofessional about that as long as it doesn't get out of control, particularly in the topics that you may goof around with or joke with. So let's keep it clean and keep it respectful, and we'll be good to go. I don't want you guys to think that I'm Mr. Straight-laced, never have any fun kind of guy. I'm certainly not that person. So let's enjoy ourselves. The grading scale will be 10% for your quizzes, 25% for your homework, 30% for exams, 25% for project reports, and professionalism at 10%. So that usually most students will get all those 10% of those points, unless something comes up that makes me take points away. So those aren't usually very hard to earn as long as you're just behaving. The grade scale is a 5% grade scale, so as follows. If you're going to miss an exam in particular, this doesn't usually apply to homework and quizzes in this class since we're getting things by email all the time, but usually I like you to get things in as soon as you can, close to the due date. And if you're going to be late, please tell me beforehand so that we can work things out. If you have any conflict or grievance with the instructor or with a classmate or a problem with the class, you're welcome to come and talk to me, but I realize most students don't want to do that. So you don't want to have a grievance with your instructor and talk to him about it. I'm open, and I'm open to criticism and everything else. But if you have a problem, you can go ahead and talk to my supervisor, Sally Falcon. There's her contact information. She would be glad to hear anything that you have to say. If you have good things to say about this class, come to me, and I'll take care of those. So, if you're going to withdraw from class, do that at the front office. Please do it before the withdrawal date if you don't want to receive whatever grade you're going to get. The Family Education Rights and Privacy Act is just the act that says we're supposed to try to keep your information as private as possible, and we try to do that as much as possible. If there's a concern there, please come to me, or you can go to my advisor and we can take care of that. It's just we're trying to do all we can to keep everything private. Students with disabilities, if you have a disability, you need to self-report, and these are the people you self-report to. You have Robin Rankin on the North Campus. Chris Turner takes care of South Campus. Robin Rankin takes care of all the extended campuses. And then at McCook we have Brandon Lehart. And then you can also just send an email to disabilityservices@mpcc to get started at mpcc.edu. But you have to report to them your disability, and then they will work through all the legal issues and everything else and get you the help you need. But I can't give you any kind of allowances or any kind of special treatment until you have done that, and then until they tell me that you've done that. So that has to be done that way. If you have any questions about that, the people to talk to are these people, or send an email to disabilityservices@mpcc.edu. I will refer you to them if you come to me, because they are the professionals, and that's something that needs to be handled professionally. So here's our schedule for this course. Engineering 1000, Monday 8/24. I think I've got the dates right on this one. I went through, I did a lot to get this right, and I hope it's right. We do have an assignment. We have two columns here: a reading assignment, reading assignment, and then the actual homework assignment. We actually have four columns: the date we're doing these and the date they're due. And I didn't put the due date here for this, but the engineering video assignment is the first assignment, and that's an assignment for today. I want you to go and watch 60 minutes of video about engineering, your choice. And we're actually going to spend a little time today watching some engineering video. Just jump onto YouTube. But 60 minutes of video, it's great if you can find one video that's 60 minutes long about something you're interested in, or you can watch some smaller ones, and that's fine. And it can be in a wide range of things. You can the building of the Panama Canal, the prospects of going to Mars, the different things they're doing for Mars, making ice cream that is carbonated. That's actually an engineering project, believe it or not. There's lots of different things out there. There's even engineering videos for video game people. You can, if you really enjoy video games, which I know a lot of people do. There's some great stuff going on in video game engineering, particularly with 3D environments. Three-dimensional environment video games are just around the corner, and so to speak. A video game where you can actually move your head while you're watching the video game and look around a corner. As your head moves, the video game aspect ratio on the screen will move, and you will be able to look around objects, which is something you've never been able to do tactily. You've never been able to do it intuitively. You've always had to use a controller to move your player around the corner or whatever. And I've actually played one of these video games. It's a really cool engineering feat done by an engineer. The first guy that started this project was an engineer at Carnegie Mellon, I think, University, and it's brilliant. And I played a prototype of a game where you're standing on top of a castle and you're shooting arrows around corners, and you look around the corner, and the aspect ratio of the game actually shifted, so it looked like you were looking around a corner, and it's really three-dimensional. It's really kind of strange three-dimensional like you've never experienced, except in real life. And so it was fascinating, and we got to play the game, and we did that at UNL. Actually, it was right here in Nebraska. Before I move on, actually, I'd like to mention something concerning the University of Nebraska. I am actually the advisor for the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Club here at the college. And as a student of the college, and as a student as a full-time student of the college, you can join a club. And so if you are a full-time student of the college, you could come join the Science, Technology, Engineering, Math Club. And we do a few activities throughout the year and try to do some fundraising and other things like this. And some of the activities we do, for example, are we like to do a science fiction movie night for the students here on campus. And we maybe do a paper airplane contest this year, both unpowered and powered paper airplanes. We also do science shows for kids in the community. We help run the science fair, lots of things. But one of the big things we do is at the end of the year, it's usually about in April, we'll take a field trip and go to University of Nebraska-Lincoln during their engineering week and see a lot of the students' senior design projects and of these students that are graduating from UNL Engineering Department. It covers a lot of different fields, everything from biology to chemistry to medical to healthing. They cover all kinds of fields, and they're exciting projects, but you also get to meet with a lot of the people that hire the science, technology, engineering, math students in this state and the surrounding states. People like Union Pacific Railroad, General Electric. There are several engineering firms that go to this thing every year. So it's a great opportunity for students to kind of get involved with engineering and get exposed to engineering. And it's paid for. The school pays for this trip. So the students just get to go and enjoy the experience. So if you'd like to join the STEM Club, we're having our first meeting next Monday, a week from today, at 3 p.m. in the physics room here. It's room 217 to 14, rather, of the Health and Science Center. And we're gonna make homemade root beer with dry ice, and we're gonna play games with dry ice, have some fun with dry ice, and elect our officers and plan out our year. Essentially, get started on planning some projects and some activities for the year. So come join the club. It's completely free of charge. We have some fun during the year and some great opportunities. So now moving on. Next Monday, after we do our engineering video assignment, our engineering video report, we're going to have engineering video report, and that is a one-page typed report, including titles and websites, a video watch, and then Friday the 28th, we will start Chapter 1, and we may or may not get to it. It depends on other things, but we do have a class on Friday. It's not blank. It's blank because at the beginning of the school year, I like to leave a blank day as students add and drop, and we kind of have things crazy going on. I don't want to do too much and have people fall behind. So next Monday we'll start on Chapter 1, so you should read Chapter 1. Not that big a deal. We're going to do some problems, problems 1 through 6 and 9 through 11. You can type it up, send it to me, email it to me, or whatever. But one thing that I would like to mention is I would like you to use the best grammar and the best organization possible on your assignments. It's very important for engineers to learn how to write very well. It's not about writing like you learn in an English class. And you go to an English class and they spend a lot of time, as you're younger, they spend a lot of time talking about grammar and structuring sentences and paragraph design and all these things. And those things are important for engineering. But as you get on later into English, they start to teach you things like, how to use a thesaurus and to use, fancy words and to never use the same word twice. And they spend a lot of time on those things. And while those things are interesting when you're writing poetry or creative writing of some kind or something else, they're really kind of distracting when you're trying to explain something to somebody. There's nothing worse to understand than somebody who uses really flowery language when they're trying to explain how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? You just want to say things how they are in the simplest and the clearest way possible. And if that means you're using the same word over and over and over again, that's fine. The things that we try to teach, and we will learn a little bit about this later on in this class, we try to teach using active speech, active language, which means that we try to stay away from using the verb to be so much because that muddles up the language. Using active language means using the verb for what it's supposed to be used for in the sentence you're using it, and just trying to organize things in a proper way and leaving lots of white space around your writing so that it's not cluttered on a page and it doesn't distract your eye and doesn't confuse your brain. Writing in engineering engineers probably write more than anyone else on the earth in any given year. They write literally billions and billions of documents every year, and their documents have to be understood not just by engineers, by other engineers, but by business people, by the average person in the community. You know, if you buy a product, you know, it's usually an engineer that ends up writing the instruction manual, and you know, some people make some modifications to it and other things, but usually the engineer writes the first draft. And you can really see a lot of bad writing that way. There's a lot of bad engineering writing out there, and so we want to teach you to write as well as you possibly can, because as engineers, you will do a lot of it. So anyway, that's chapter 1. We're going to just kind of fly through it in 1 day, maybe 2 days if we get started on it on Friday. Then we go on to chapter 2, and you can say we're only spending a couple days on chapter 2. It's not there's not very difficult stuff in the first couple of chapters. Chapter 3, again, another 2 days, and then we're right on to our first exam. Not even into this, barely into the second week of September, and we're on our first exam. And it's not a difficult exam, I can tell you that much. We get into the next chapter. We skip chapter 4 and move into chapter 5. But we don't do that until we do our first project. We allow you guys to get away from the textbook for a little bit and work on a project. The first project is a bridge project, and we'll have some specific requirements that you have to meet, and tools and materials you have to use. And one of the reasons you need to send me, one of the other things you need to send me in your email that you're making for me today, which I forgot to mention, is your address, your mailing address. Because if you're not here in North Platte, I'm going to have to send you these materials. So you can either send me the address of your high school or your home address, and I will send the materials out to you, and you'll get them. You can have them before this first project. You'll need them for the first project. So include in your email your home address or your school address, and I'll send them to you. So we'll spend a little bit more than a week on the bridge project. About 3 days of this will be actually working on the project, where we'll go over some certain things. And this is a very guided project, so you'll do one thing at a time, and you'll be filling out things in a worksheet and be guided along as you do it. And you'll have things that you'll be turning in. So the project sheets 1 through 9 you'll have to have turned in, and then you'll do project sheets 10 through 13. You have to turn those in, and then you'll work on the project, and you'll actually build it and test it. And as you build it and test it, then we'll review that testing usually on this last day, where we'll watch everybody's test. If you're not in North Platte, you'll have to do the test and make a video of the test with your cell phone or and send us that test video, and we'll have to see how your bridges how they stand up to the pressure. Then when we're done with our bridge project, takes a little bit more than a week, we'll get on to chapter 5, and you can see we spent a little more time on chapter 5, an entire week really, and then we do an exam in 5, and we do that because chapter 5 is very important, and I think chapter 5 has the let's see what chapter 5 is all about really quick. Yeah, chapter 5 is all about the design process. And then we move on to chapter 6, which is engineering communications, where we learn a little bit about the writing and the different ways that engineers communicate. And that's the last chapter that we study in this class. So we do our exam 1 through 3, do a project, chapter 5, we do another project. This one I'm not entirely sure we'll do, but I think we will. We had a fair amount of success with it last year, and I want to try it one more time, but most of these projects are a little bit up in the air, because if I find a new project that I really like, we might just switch to it, because it's always fun to do new projects in engineering. But then after that second project, we do chapter 6, and then we just do project. We have 4 projects here for the last end of the year. At the very end of the year, we'll go back to a little bit of more traditional learning in the classroom, where we will learn how to use a computer-aided drafting program called SketchUp. And it is a free program that you can download, so you don't have to buy anything. And you can use it on just about any computer. It has to be a fairly good computer. You can't really use it on a cell phone or anything. They just don't have enough power. But we'll learn about it for a few days, and then we'll do a design project. And then at the end of the design project, we will actually use a tool that I have in my classroom, the three-dimensional printer. And you can print your project, and then you can have a three-dimensional version of your project. So that takes us, oh, and that's actually here. So the SketchUp CAD comes before Thanksgiving. And of course, we have the Thanksgiving holiday the last week of November. And then when we get back from Thanksgiving holiday, we will do our 3D printer prototyping. And that takes a fair amount of time. You have to do the three-dimensional design, of course, first, but then you have to convert it into the proper kind of files for the 3D printer to read and to print. And usually it takes several tries to print it properly. You'll print it the first time, and maybe you'll discover that your design was flawed and it didn't print how you thought it was going to look. And then the second time you go to print it, the printer jams and you get a big blob of plastic instead of a nice printed object. So the third time you do it, something else goes wrong. So sometimes it takes 4 or 5 tries to get it printed properly. But that's why I've given us a good couple weeks after we get back from Thanksgiving to get that done. And then there will be a final. The final will be a presentation, probably on this final project, this last project for the 3D prototyping project. So that's the schedule for this class. That's what we're gonna be heading into. And so, do you have any questions about any of this? I hopefully covered it all. And I guess that's all I've got for you. If you have any questions, please send me an email as soon as possible, and I will answer your questions. And don't forget to send your email with the information that I've asked for: your name, your cell phone number, and the company that you have your cell phone through, your address, why you're interested in engineering. And once I've got all that information, then I can use that information to get you the materials you need and to get to know you a little bit. So now, let's restart Firefox. Now we're going to take a look at a... Did it restart? Can't tell. We're going to take a look at some engineering videos here. Seems like it's frozen. Oh, it's just sitting here thinking. Goodness, go away already. This is the oldest computer I have in my office. Well, actually, it's not true. This one's probably old. No, it's probably not older. But this is the oldest one I have in my area here. So whenever things go wrong, it's always this one. So why is it sitting here? Do I have to restart? I hope not. Just let me out of here, please. Is it just downloading that new version? Or maybe I shouldn't have said do that. Okay, now it's going. We're sorry. Quit Firefox. Restart Firefox. Okay. I've been a big fan of Firefox for a long time, but recently their newest releases have given me grief. And I'm starting to wonder if it's time to switch to Google Chrome or something. Are you looking for us?
I'm looking for you.
ENGR1000? Or
No, I was just, if you're busy,
yeah, I'll be done here in about just a little bit. We have a class here for another 20 minutes.
Alright, I'll come back later.
Okay. Let's go to YouTube. And let's see, I always have some weird stuff on the front page of YouTube. But here we go. I'm just going to put in engineering here and see what we get. All these weird ones. Mechanical engineer expectations versus reality.
Those bigger structure ones are awesome. I've seen some of those.
Which ones?
The mega structures.
Oh, mega structures. Yeah, those are pretty cool. That's a little too long for us today, though. But there's actually some really good ones. I'm actually going to go with this one here. Let's see. Engineered truth. Let's go see what it's like. I've never seen this one, so there's always a new one every year I start over again.
X. Select clinical activates to keep.
Hey guys, so in this video, my friend Nam and I are gonna talk about the difference between real engineering in the workplace and school engineering, or like what we thought engineering was gonna be like. So Nam, what do you do?
I am a design and manufacturing engineer at a manufacturing plant in Claremont. They produce, I want to say they're like electromechanical connectors for aerospace and other industrial applications.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that for 4 years. After I graduated college in 2010, I got a job like maybe 3 months after, and I've been there ever since.
Okay, so we're gonna make this into like a little game, and each of us wrote 5 cards of what we thought engineering was gonna be like and actual reality. So I'll go first. So I think, and for number 1 is, I thought mechanical engineering was gonna be way more hands-on than it really is. And in actual real life, so everybody has that perception that mechanical engineering is super going to be like a mix of designing and a mix of like working with your hands too. I think in actuality, none of the engineering positions I had any hands-on part to them. And I would say like most mechanical engineers that I met through school or my classmates, they don't really have hands-on positions either. What about you?
Since I work in a manufacturing plant, I guess I'm a little more involved hands-on than say like a quality engineer or something, who generally have to do a lot of paperwork. But the hands-on things I do are mostly scoping, looking at parts, measuring parts, or well, you know, once in a while, just for fun, I would put parts together. But that's generally just to learn about the products better.
Yeah, it's not like an actual functional role.
No,
it's
no.
just to learn, right?
They're pretty much auxiliary roles.
Would you say like hands-on is not as fun as it seemed like it would be?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the hands-on stuff are repetitive. Putting things together or measuring parts. The way things are designed, they're supposed to make it such that anybody with no education should be able to put together. That's the whole point, because we can't afford mistakes, so we have to make our design like stupid-proof, so that almost anybody who's assembling them could put them together.
Yeah. What's your first card?
The design work involves a lot of creativity.
So what's the reality? Wait, what was the idea that you had in school, and then what's the reality?
Well, you know, in school I thought, okay, well, it's gonna be cool because once I start working, they're gonna give you some general guidelines on what needs to be designed, and you get to start designing from the bottom down. However, that is not the case at all. And there's 2 major reasons. The first one is that keep in mind that you're working for a company. They don't want to spend a lot of money, and if you're going to build everything from the ground up, it's going to cost a lot of money. You know, it's going to be a lot of R&D. You have to order new material and stuff. They generally like to recycle a lot of old designs that have been proven to work, except with slight modifications to accommodate whatever your customers may need. And the second thing is, maybe it's just my specific line of work, but we work off of government documents, and in those documents, they already outline exactly what everything should be. You know, how big something should be, how long it should be, what kind of voltage it should withstand, all that stuff. So basically, you're just doing a lot of copy and pasting.
Yeah, that's actually something I noticed too when I worked at SoCal Gas. Specifically, like closer you are to the government, like less creativity there is.
Yeah.
Because pretty much our job was to make sure all the pipes were in regulation to each other, and so you don't have creative freedom. You're just following within the laws. Like the laws take away all the creative freedom that you would get if you had to design.
Right.
So pretty much, I would agree. Like there's pretty much no creative work. I have not had very little creativity in my engineering. The only creative things I've done was Excel programming, where my boss actually didn't know how to do it. So it's like she has to just give me some guidelines, and then I make an Excel program, which isn't even mechanical engineering. So yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind that when you're making parts.
So I'm going to stop the video here because I don't want to just spend all the time on one video. I want to give you an array of different videos that you might watch. This is a really good video. You have two students here, obviously two very different types of people. You have this guy on the right with the black shirt on. He's obviously a little more outgoing. He seems a little more laid back, and he also kind of seems a little more normal. Whereas the guy on the left is the kind of guy that most people would look at and say he's an engineer. You know, he's got the thick glasses on. I don't know if you can tell, but he's got an extreme vision problem. If you look in his glasses, you can see that they make his face extremely small inside his glasses. So he's got thick glasses on, and that's what most people think of engineers. You know, he stutters just a little bit. You can tell he's just not as quite socially. But the thing that I want to point out is that you get all kinds in engineering, and you do get some of those very typical, the nerdy kids that are just really smart looking and sounding and everything else. But I think the guy on the left is probably no more smart or capable than the guy on the right. There's so many different types of people in engineering, and we really encourage that. You know, if you go back into the 70s and the 80s, it was frowned on to be an engineer. It was frowned on to be smart, to be in the high classes, because you were called a geek or a nerd. And now those things have taken on a different flavor. People are starting to realize, well, geeks and nerds of the 70s and 80s are the ones that are all millionaires now, and I want to be that millionaire. And so people are starting to realize that there's a good thing to going to working hard in school and using your brain, rather than just being some cool guy or whatever that doesn't ever do anything in school, or cool girl, either way. But I think that's just that part is kind of interesting. But what they're saying here is something that you hear a lot from engineers, especially in their first years as engineers. They get out of school, and their first jobs, they're working for some company somewhere, and they don't get a chance to be creative. They don't get a chance to do anything interesting with their hands. They don't get a chance to get out there and do what they thought they'd be doing, and their perceptions of it are very different. And it's very common for engineers to get a little frustrated with that at first. But what you have to realize is that's true in every single field that you go into. When you go into medicine, you spend your first 5 years in residency doing all the crap work on all the crap shifts at the hospital. Nobody likes their residency because you're a slave laborer, you're making nothing. I mean, I think resident surgeons and resident doctors make about $5 an hour. It's just terrible work at the beginning of your career. Both of my older brothers were the same way, and they're both engineers. And my youngest brother is also an engineer. All their first jobs they just didn't like them very much. They were frustrated with them. But all of them, their second jobs were 100 to 1,000 times better. Everything was different, because as they got experience, they were given more opportunities, and as they had more opportunities, they had more freedoms. When they had more freedoms, they had more variety and more options to do things that were creative, things that were hands-on. And now my oldest brother, he runs a facility for the Department of Defense that is essentially a weapons testing ground. He's a civil engineer, and he's in charge of a weapons testing ground. They go in there and they blow it to pieces, and he puts it back together for them. And it's a really interesting job, because he gets to work with all these people that are doing just really cutting-end research. It's not necessarily the nicest research in the world, designing bombs to kill people, but it's still very interesting research, and it pays very well. My other brother got a job. At first he was just working as an inspector for a construction company, and then he became their chief hydraulics engineer, which he was in charge of all of their designs and all of their inspections for new projects, building these big bridges and roads and things in California, all their foundations, to make sure that the water wasn't causing a problem for the foundations, which is exactly what he always wanted to do, and he loved it. And then my youngest brother, he got his first job kind of doing some dead-end stuff that he wasn't interested in for a contractor, and now he's working for a company that does top secret work for the Navy, which is what he's always wanted to do. He's always wanted to work kind of on the cutting edge in the military. So I can't tell you what he does because I don't know, but he does something that he's enjoying. So this is a very realistic video, and it's something that you need to understand. You want to know about engineering when you're a young engineer in your first few years, maybe even first several years as an engineer, depending on which direction you go with engineering. It can be frustrating. It can be a little bit disappointing even at first, because you've got all this training, you've done all this stuff, and then it's like you're starting over again when you get your first job. They're going to teach you some new things in the real world, and they're not going to let you have full reign. They're not going to just turn you loose on a project and say, go do something, you know. You might spend 6 months designing the hinge of a door, and it'd be boring as all snot. But eventually, you know, you work hard and you show initiative and you show that you're good at doing the stuff that they need done, then they will start asking you the things they want done. So that was a good video. I like that one. Anybody have any questions about that?
Nope.
We have a few more minutes. Let's maybe go back and find another one here. The worst engineering structures ever built. There's some good ones on that for sure. Let's see, Ground Zero Super Tower. Let's look at that one. Why not?
Welcome one.
Welcome all.
To Campfire.
They're younger.
Some of you were campers last year.
An icon rises in the New York City skyline. One World Trade Center, 104 stories tall, reaching a symbolic 1,776 feet.
Oh, good.
It's been an
Make you
epic
sick just
journey
looking at it.
filled with troubling problems and innovative solutions.
We're really at the cutting edge on everything at this site.
This building is not a skyscraper. It's taller than a skyscraper. This is in another league.
For architect David Childs, it's the challenge of a lifetime.
We knew this building would have all eyes on it, and it needed new technical advances that would set the path for...
So this is a very interesting thing to mention right off. They first mentioned the architect, and architecture used to be a field that didn't involve so much engineering. But in the modern day, it has certainly become an engineering thing. Architects have always had to worry about engineering, but they've not always had to have a degree in engineering. Nowadays, if you're going to become an architect like this, you're going to have a degree in engineering. You're almost certainly going to have an architectural engineering degree, or a structural engineering degree, or a civil engineering degree. Because if you don't, you're going to have to hire those engineers, and they're not cheap. You know, for a project like an engineer for a project like this, the lead engineer for a project like this will make millions of dollars, and so you'd much rather be the engineer. And it's not just for buildings like this anymore. If you just build a house in North Platte, you actually have to have an engineer sign off on the architectural drawings before you can get a permit. And so most companies will go down to an engineering firm and pay them to do that for them. But a lot of bigger firms now, a lot of bigger building companies are actually hiring an engineer to be on staff. So that's a great thing to have. An architectural engineering degree, a structural engineering degree, or a civil engineering degree is a great degree to have if you're interested in building, being in building construction. And that's a very hands-on job. You will be part of the construction all the time. You will spend a lot of time at your desk as well, you know, checking drawings and making calculations. But you can have a very lucrative career as an architectural engineer, essentially just checking off drawings. You're signing drawings saying this is architecturally sound, this is engineering worthy.
Other buildings in the future.
Next door is the 9/11 Memorial, to honor those who died in the worst terrorist attack in American history.
Future generations need to understand what took place at this site.
And 70 feet below ground is the 9/11 Museum.
The role that this museum plays is really to punctuate what that day means for you.
After more than a decade, the building of One World Trade Center is almost complete.
It is very important that we did rebuild. It gave us a chance to rebuild better.
We have the DNA of strivers. That's part of the American character. And so there's this desire to rebuild tall again.
It's the birth of an icon, but will it live up to its promise to be beautiful, safe, and ahead of its time? Ground Zero Super Tower, next on Nova.
So that's a good one, obviously. And I think we're just about out of time. Where's the clock here? Yeah, we're just about out of time. But I would like you to watch at least 60 minutes of something to do with engineering. And there's something for everybody out there, for sure. So when you're done with that, give me a page report listing videos that you watched, where you saw them at, and what you learned from them. Anything interesting you saw, anything that captured your attention, maybe you want to learn more about, whatever. You're welcome to go and do any other research you want afterwards, but it's mostly a report on the video, one page, and make sure you list the videos you saw. And if there are no more questions, we are done for today, and we will break until Wednesday. Okay? I will post these videos for your viewing pleasure. Also send me your emails right away because I will be sending you a link to where these videos can be found. But if you just search if you search my username on YouTube, which is MPCC Engineer, I think you'll find my page here, MPCC Engineer. I think all one word. Yeah, so this is it right here. So these are all my videos, and you'll be able to find the videos for this class on here. They will be under they'll be under a playlist here. So I have a playlist here for Physics 10 Engineering 1000 Fall 214. I'll make a new one for Engineering 1000 2015, and I have all kinds of other playlists on here that I think are interesting. I collect videos from around the web. So if you're interested, you're more than welcome to go and check them out. The one that I really recommend is this engineering one here. It shows different fields of engineering. I thought I had a longer one, but maybe I don't. But I'll put up a longer one later. So anyway, have a great one. See you Wednesday.